Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. It's amazing to me that a nation of the most tax-phobic people in the world are happy to set up tiny, localized jurisdictions, which then tax them. Yeah, guys, let's start our video with the HOA story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. I fired someone for pretending to be the manager. So I'm the manager of a construction company set up by my parents before they retired a few years ago, and although I'm relatively young to be running it, 28, I think I'm doing pretty well. Around 6 months ago, my friend on my father's lost his job, and because of his age, mid-50s, he was having trouble finding other work, so I was asked to give him a job. So I did, because I knew the guy had a lot of experience in the area. As soon as he started, I noticed him either not listening to me or just rolling his eyes whenever I took charge, and he would occasionally make comments like, "I know what I'm doing, and I've been doing this longer than you." But I ignored this because I figured it must be hard for him to be taking orders from someone almost half his age, so I mostly ignored it, until yesterday. Yesterday, I was having a few issues with one of our clients. Nothing major, we just couldn't decide on the best way to proceed with the job. He then suddenly comes out with, "Actually, can I just talk to your boss so I can make sure there's no misunderstandings?" So I, slightly surprised, respond with, "Oh, sorry if I never made it clear, but I'm the manager." And his face instantly turned into a glare and he said, "Common kid, don't try to pull that. I'm fully aware that he's the manager," and he pointed straight to my father's friend. At this point, I asked the client if that man had been saying he's the manager. He confirmed that he had been under the assumption since the start of the job, and he had also been discussing details of the job with him as well. So as you can expect, I go to talk to my father's friend and ask him if he's been pretending to be in charge. He didn't even deny it and started trying to claim that he knows how to run a company better anyway. So I fired him on the spot in front of all the other staff and the client. And now I'm getting the third degree from both parents. And our second story. Boss presents a crappy contract and says I can quit if I don't want to sign. I used to work for a local youth center, kind of, I won't name them. The story goes like this. The man who ran the center knew a friend of my family who told him I was going to college for graphic design and video. He calls me and lets me know that under the umbrella of the youth center, he wanted to revive an old local magazine and wanted it to be run by youth. I was 18. He said that as well as a physical magazine, there was going to be a video component that would go on YouTube and the website, and that I would be a great fit for the team to help with this. He also said that they would assist in getting all participating youth started towards their own business. I was thinking, wow, I'll have a job right out of college? This is great. I was promised on-the-job training, an eventual pay increase to $18 an hour, and a lot of other stuff. I started at $14 an hour. I won't go into detail, but basically I was told that I was to write articles for the magazine as well, as all employees would do this. No problem. Slowly but surely, we built a small team. I recommended a friend from college who would eventually become the editor. Let's call her editor. Another person who would become my friend was hired and directed/edited a lot of videos I worked on. We'll call him director. And there was also a sound technician named rapper. There were other employees as well, but the four of us were the main magazine crew. The rest helped, but mostly worked at the youth center for youth reasons. Now that I've explained that, we can get into it. Over the course of my employment, a lot of shady things happened. The center claimed that they would help us start our own businesses, and we would get a business license and they would contract us. In reality, this was a way for them to avoid paying taxes and making us do it instead. As well, there were a lot of make a video about blank orders, but no instructions until the finished video was handed in. We did stories on a lot of cultural topics, so this could be really difficult at times. On top of that, the boss was almost never there, so when we had questions, we basically had to figure things out ourselves. Despite all of this, I was loyal. I worked there for 2 years, and I'm confident that I was a major reason we were going for a while, because whenever somebody messed something up in the video, I was the one they came to fix it. Sometimes, with hours left to deadline, I filmed almost all events we covered. I knew where all the files were for everything, the passwords, and a lot more. People asked me about all these things when they forgot. I also managed the YouTube page all by myself. But for whatever reason, the boss started to trust us less and less. Locks were changed on the door, so none of our keys worked. Director and I were placed in an office where somebody was constantly watching us. Our time cards were argued about, and we were accused of only playing video games while at work. We played our Switches at lunch. I think he had trust issues because he's a sketchy person. He had the kind of fake being friends with everyone in case you needed a favor view on life. Director and I started to be blamed for bad camera framing when we weren't even at the shoot. This got to the point where we were told to take extra training, but editor, who was the most responsible for these mistakes, was treated like a queen. Even if I complained about something editor had done, nothing would ever come of it. Then comes December 2018. Boss calls a meeting. He tells us that the magazine will be transitioning into its own business separate from the youth center. Here, on top of video and writing duties, we'll be searching for contracts and driving to other cities in our province to film. He then proceeds to hand us a contract that we'll be required to sign if we continue to work for him. The contract sucks. There were a lot of things in there that would screw us over, but the main things were that while working for them, we wouldn't be allowed to conduct our own contracts, and if we quit, we can't work in our field in any of the whole province for 6 months. On top of that, our job titles would be changed to interns, and our pay would stay the same, even though we were promised $18 an hour. Literally, all of us were mad about this contract, but whenever we brought up problems, he would say, "This is non-negotiable. It's a perfectly normal contract." He also accused me of trying to find loopholes whenever I tried to discuss it. I have no idea about contracts, but if you're claiming to start youth up on their own business, this is not how you do it. He let us know that to aid with the transfer to a new business, he was in talks for a new contract worth a lot of money, but didn't disclose how much. Probably so we wouldn't feel entitled to be paid for more doing all the work. He gave us a week to look at the contract. After that, there would be 1 week until Christmas. I spent all the week dreading the next Monday when I had to make a decision. I begged boss to change it, but he stood firm. He even indicated that if we weren't happy with it, we might as well quit. This is important. Then on the Friday evening, I noticed that my job is listed on a job board. I'm shocked. I checked Facebook, the magazine website, and everything. My passwords are removed. I have no login. He's trying to strong-arm me into signing. Then on Monday, my girlfriend and I get breakfast before I go in when I get a text from director letting me know he got fired upon walking into the building. My gears start to turn in my head. If he fired director, then he's definitely counting on having me to do all the work still. I know that I won't get fired because I'm the only person capable of making videos properly. So instead of going to work, my girlfriend and I type a letter of resignation, walk over to Staples and print it out and bring it over to work. Before I give it to him, he greets me and lets me know that he fired director. The casual way he talks to me about it confirms he expects me to stay, but he did this to himself by listing my job and arrogantly stating that we should quit if we didn't like the contract. So I hand him an envelope which has my letter in it. "What's this, OP?" "My letter of resignation." He's shocked but accepts. I think in that moment he finally realized that his actions have consequences. Then he walks inside, I say goodbye to everyone, hugs all around, pack my stuff, then find him crying in the second room. I talk to director later and he tells me that his mom was connected to boss's huge paying contract and that he actually hadn't had the contract yet. Director's mom was really upset, and since they hadn't signed anything yet, she pulled some strings and got director the contract instead. Turns out it was worth something like $60,000. So basically, the boss tried to strong-arm us into signing a crappy contract, then lost the only competent employee and a $60,000 contract. Editor and rapper eventually quit too. Rapper decided to focus on his music career and is doing pretty well for himself. I worked video contracts for a while until I got a full-time job again. So as a result of all this crappiness and overall arrogance, boss no longer has enough money to print an actual magazine, is short-staffed, constantly going through new employees, and always end up quitting and rarely upload videos. Their videos have crappy titles too, like the title of the camera footage, and rarely have edited thumbnails. I think it's safe to say we destroyed his ambition of starting a business exploiting youth talent right before Christmas. And just to be clear, even though I had the effects that my quitting would have on him in mind, I also knew that the youth center was funded separately from us, so we didn't ruin any poor kids' lives. And our last story. Another HOA story. I was told this story today by my dad that a family member told him, so third-hand story. A neighbor within the HOA had a giant, ugly satellite dish in his backyard. The HOA rules stated that you couldn't have one of these on your property since it was ugly and took away from the value of the house. So what does he do? He buys the ugliest hearse he can find, attaches the satellite to it, and parks it on the street. HOA board calls the cops on his car every 24 hours. Law is your vehicle has to move every 24 hours or you get a ticket or towed. So despite them, every day he moves his hearse with the satellite to avoid a ticket or getting towed, and they couldn't do anything about it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.